Parts that I use, tools and parts that I use to make the Mega Tree base. You got your torch to heat up and bend the PVC if needed. My cup hooks so I can hook the lights on them at the top. Tape measure, of course, and various other tools, drills, drill bits, your 1-inch hole saw bit, sawzall to cut the PVC, and the strap I used it to pull the pieces together when I was bending them to hold them down until they cooled off. This is the piece of pipe I used to put in the ground. I'm going to concrete it in the ground. It's a 2-inch pipe with a bushing that's threaded. Then you got a 1 1/4 inch piece that slides perfectly inside of it, that's tight. And the 3/4 piece that is on the base. And when season is over, I'll use the cap in the ground. That way nothing gets down inside of it and I can still mow my yard with no problems. Version of Jerry Barker's tree, Mega Tree. As you see, it's similar to his. I just changed and made a few changes to it. It's still 10 feet tall, a little over 10. I changed how I bent the tubes. They're still bent, but I added the 45-degree elbows to make it a little bit easier to bend. Instead of trying to go straight into a 90, I went into a 45. Still screwed in just like his, of course. And I have added these. They are saddles you can buy at Lowe's. It's a 1-inch down to a 3/4 thread, and then I got a 3/4 thread to a 1-inch slip, which goes across and does the same thing on the other side. That way I didn't weaken the main support pole. And I mounted my control box to it where the wires will come up inside of the bottom of it. I'm also going to mount another one beside it, which will hold the 12-volt power supply off the ground. As you see right here, I have the string of lights. It is inside a piece of wire loom. See if I can get it open for you. There's the Pixel, 2811 Pixel. They are on a 2.5-inch spacing. That way I could actually do the 10 feet versus the 15-foot string. So I had to go on a 2.5-inch spacing for that to compensate for it. It is hooked by the rope up top on a I-hook. I have it tied at the bottom. It goes underneath and ties to keep it tight. Comes around and goes up into the box, which I have mounted on a piece of PVC that comes across on either side. And they're not full tees, they're just the saddles that you can buy at Lowe's. And you can see they're screwed in so you can adjust it up and down as necessary, as height, whatever height you want it at. And it goes across and does the same thing. And as soon as this sits out in the sun for a little while, I will add this support beam right here in the middle to support the center section. And then I will add the third holder in the ground that's similar to, it just slips down inside of it like so on either side. These are flush with the ground, that way I can still mow over them just fine. And then at the end of the season, I'll put the plug in them and take the frame apart for storage. Doing my tee, I screwed it on in all the way across and down. I'm using a 1-inch hole saw. I'm gonna drill the hole. Alright, so now you see I have a 1-inch hole in the middle, but our 3/4 flange well, will screw into. It can be tight, but it will screw into it. And there you have it. Just like Jerry's. Just, you don't have to file, just use a 1-inch hole saw bit and some pliers, and it will screw right in.